I think fundamentally, most CEOs, look, you have an N of one when you're a first-time founder. Most CEOs with an N of one don't know what great looks like on a board. And quite frankly, a lot of VCs don't know what great looks like on a board either. The good ones do, for sure. And it feels like an add-on. It feels like a burden. It feels like it's not core. It feels like it doesn't help. And 9 out of 10 CEOs that I talk to, you talk about their board and they roll their eyes and they're like, next topic, please. But when you get it right with a board, you have a force multiplier for the success and scalability of your business and of you as a CEO. But you don't get it right by accident. You have to, like everything else, you got to do the work. You got to put the time into the board composition and also into board leadership and management. And what I have found over time is that when you get it right, not only are you spending a lot less incremental time on it because it becomes part of how you run the company, but the value you get out of it goes up like 10x.
Is it because founders subconsciously treat the board too much like their boss?
Probably. I think it's that they treat their board as a burden, as an afterthought. Like, I have to report to these guys. I have to do all this work to produce something that they're not going to read, and then they're going to come sit in a meeting and do email the whole time.
And then yet they're obsessed of getting the font right in the presentation on all 100 pages. Like how do you even fix a situation like that?
Well, you fix the situation by deciding that you want to get a lot out of your board, and you work backwards from that. So if I want to get a lot out of my board, you have to decide you want to get a lot out of your board with the minimal amount of effort.
I like that framing.
When you get those two things right, all of a sudden you look forward to your board meetings because you're like, oh my God, I got the brain trust around for 6 hours. What are we going to get out of them? And the lift to prepare goes way down. And like I said, there's a whole other podcast we could do about that, and I'm happy to come back on and talk about it.
2 more questions I wanted to ask about the board, maybe. One is you have your independent directors as an important variable. How does that compare to members of your board of advisors in your mind?
I've never been a big fan of a board of advisors. I love having a customer advisory board. That's different, right? That's like a product thing or marketing thing. I've never really had success with boards of advisors. Occasionally I've had an advisor or two who add value, but every time I've marched into a board of advisors, I feel like that is another thing. I've just always gotten more success about having a couple good independents on the board, on the real board. And then if I need an advisor one-off for something, I do that. But otherwise that does become yet another thing on your plate.
Okay. And you also have the 1-1-1 framework, right? Can you explain that to us?
I can, although just to tie off on the last question, what I would say is a time where you might want to have a board of advisors is if you have a dysfunctional board and you can't do anything about it.
Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So if you are structurally unable to get what you need out of a good board, then sure, think about creating essentially a shadow.
Building a separate power center next to it, in a sense, right?
Yeah, but my rule of ones is sort of what I said earlier. I just didn't articulate it that way, which is build independent directors into your board from day one. Only one member of the management team on the board, you, no other founders. Then the last point is for every one VC, make sure you have one independent.
Oh, why is that? Tell me more about that.
And the fundamental reason for only one member of the management team on the board is you have a limited number of slots. You already have 100% of the mind share of your co-founders. So they're just occupying a seat. And again, if you care about the strategic advice you're getting from your co-founder is going to be in the room for the board meeting anyway. If you care about the quality of strategic advice you're getting from the board, someone who's not in the business every day is going to give you different advice than someone who is. So that's really what that comes down to. And, governance, you can set governance in a different direction if you want. If the founders own the business, you don't have to give the board the right to fire all the founders. Feel free to separate shareholder governance from board governance.